Well, we're talking today about kindness. Don't you think this society has become so rude and so just incivility that we really need to pursue creating cultures of kindness? I was recently on an airplane flying from Sarasota to Atlanta. I got to a seat early because I'm a million miler on Delta. I sat down. I had only been there a couple of minutes, and a young man in uniform came and sat down behind me. It wasn't 2 minutes later that someone came out of first class, came back to this young man and said, "Sir, can I see your boarding pass?" He took it out, showed it to her. She said, "I want to trade seats with you." He said, "Oh no, I can't do that." She said, "Yes, you can, I'm your boss." And then she said, "Thank you for your service." So he got up, got all of his gear, took it to first class, sat down. A few minutes later, another person in uniform came and sat down behind me. Just a couple minutes later, a gentleman came out of first class and said to this person, "I want to trade seats with you." By the time that plane had taken off, every single person in uniform was sitting in first class. Isn't that great? Yeah, and that's what kindness is all about. It's small things. So kindness is a behavior marked by ethical characteristics, a pleasant disposition, and a concern for others. And it's a value in many cultures. So as we think about kindness, I want you to think about the iconic story of the Good Samaritan. And there was a person who was robbed and beaten lying beside the road. 3 people came by. The first one was a priest. He walked on the other side of the road. The second one was a Levite. He came by, he went over and looked at this man, and then went on his way. The third one was the Good Samaritan, who really helped this person. So when we see someone in need, there are 3 different responses that we can have. First of all, we can keep our distance, just like the priest did. We can be curious but not get involved, and those are the gaper's blocks on the highway. Or the third thing is we can care enough to get involved, to do something, to take action. So when we take action, first of all, we've got to really see the need. We've got to look for people who are hurting, people in our workplaces who are hurting, people in our world. I think we are so functioning like this, kind of, got to get this done, got to hurry up, got to get to the next appointment, got to get this call finished, that we forget to really look at human beings and see them as a person. So we need to see the need. And then secondly, we need to empathize with their pain. Everybody has a story. And one of the gifts of people in this life is being able to find out a little bit about their stories. And so finally, allow who you are on the inside to be who you are on the outside. Look for the need, see the need, and empathize with the person's problem, issue, concern. So one of the reframes I've learned in my work is that interruptions really become opportunities. And haven't you been in a situation where you're in the midst of a project and you're right buried with this, and all of a sudden somebody needs something from you? And you're like, "Oh no, I need to stay." Sometimes my phone will ring and I'm in the middle of something and the person needs to talk. But what's helped me to understand about kindness is that those interruptions really are an opportunity to make a difference in that person's life. And so begin to think about them that way. So what are some of the advantages of being kinder? First of all, health. We know the research says we're healthier. Secondly, we're happier. Thirdly, it improves all of our relationships. And then finally, it does impact the bottom line. I speak a lot on customer service and employee engagement all over the world. And one of the things we know is that the kinder a workplace is, the kinder and more caring, the more people want to work there, and the more your customers want to come. So there is a bottom line impact as well. So some of the reasons we're not kind, sometimes it's fear. And I do acknowledge that sometimes we see a homeless person, we're afraid. But folks, my belief is we have a choice. We can either live in faith or live in fear. And I choose to live in faith. And I choose to trust people. And so fear is number one. But I think the main reason that we're not very kind in our society today, and I clipped this out of this week's paper. This story says, "Is incivility the new normal?" That's so sad. So I think we're so busy, we're going like this through life, so self-absorbed. And I'm not judging, because a lot of times that's happened in our workplaces. But we've got to get out of that kind of frame and begin to look at people around us. And so not to be so busy. And then finally, just lack of compassion. And so you know that. Well, we're all about choice. So everything that we're talking about is all about choice. And I think that's a bottom line for all of us. We have the opportunity every day to make a difference. And so I love this thought. People may not remember what you say. They may not even remember what you do. But they'll always remember how you made them feel. And so think about that as you go. This is a little chart I created for myself a number of years ago. I use this every time I speak, no matter what the topic is. I wanted to be able to see and measure the difference I could make every day. And this is true of all of us in this room. So every time we interact with anyone, we have a choice. We can create for that other person a minus, a zero, or a plus. If we discount them, make them feel less important than us or our organization, they're going to leave with a minus. If we just take care of only the business at hand, and that's your slot fillers, that's not seeing the person as a human being. And so if we do create a human level connection, we're leaving that person a little better because they interacted with us. So you can be good at your job, be a transaction giver, or you can be a relationship builder. And kindness comes into that. This has become a philosophy of life for me from Mother Teresa. Be kind and merciful. Let no one ever come to you without coming away a little better and a little happier. And let no one ever come to your organization without coming away a little better and a little happier. Isn't that a wonderful mission and goal to have? And that's what kindness is all about. So I want to give you an acronym so you'll really remember KIND. The K is kinesthetic, the I imaginative, the N neighborly, and the D deliberate. So let's talk about each one of those for a minute. First of all, kinesthetic. We know from all the studies that touch is so important, especially in our world today when we're so afraid of touch. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical touch, but it can be looking that person directly in the eyes, remembering their name, some kind of an emotional connection. And so Mother Teresa says, be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile, kindness in your warm greeting. Here's something I want you all to do. When you get back tonight to your hotel room or to your home, I want you to call your own voicemail. And I want you to listen to that message and say to yourself, does this sound like a kind person? Does this sound like someone who loves their job, who wants to help, who wants to serve other people? Because most of the messages I hear either sound like a computer or the person's dead. So go back, re-record your message, stand up, smile, and make it sound like you care about what you're doing. So a smile is a window that shows your heart is at home. I love that little thought. All right, the I for imaginative. Get your creative juices going. Do things when you see someone who is in need. If they just need a kind word or a smile or a little bit of encouragement, get creative about what you can do. One of my clients had a custodian that had worked for the company for 25 years. Somebody found out that it was his birthday the next day. He worked at night. And so they passed the word around all through the office. They said, empty your own wastebaskets. And when you have enough time today, trace the bottom of the wastebasket, write a birthday note to this gentleman, and leave it for him. He worked at night. The next morning he came in. He just was in tears. He said, nobody has ever done anything that nice for me before. Folks, it's little things that make a huge difference, not big things. So be imaginative. Neighborly. Who remembers Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Didn't you just feel warm whenever you heard him or saw him? And State Farm slogan, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. So we used to be neighborly. And we've kind of lost that in our society today. So think about the people that come into your life, especially in your workplaces, really are your neighbors, and how would you treat them? So I love this too from Mother Teresa. Kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. And so every kind word that we speak echoes, echoes, echoes. The D is deliberate. You know, I love the idea of random acts of kindness, but I want you to be deliberate about being kind, not just wait for it to be random. So here's an idea for you. When you get up in the morning, put 5 pennies in this pocket. Every time you do something kind for someone, move a penny over here. And don't go to bed at night till all 5 pennies are in this pocket. Now you can do this with your families, and then at dinner talk about what are the kind things you did. Another way you can do that is every time somebody does something kind for you, move a penny over and just see how many things in the day happen, and does it get better? Does it get better as you talk about kindness? So have a plan. The city, anybody from Kansas City here this morning? The city of Kansas City started a kindness campaign. I would love to see you do this in your workplaces and in your communities. What they did, they started a number of years ago. This was kind of the poster for the whole program. Kindness is contagious, catch it. They created these buttons, and they handed them out all over the city. Grade school children, moms at home, people in corporations, schools, all over the city. And they asked them, wear the button until somebody does something kind for you, and then pass it on. At the end of the first year, they asked me to be their keynote speaker. They had a citywide breakfast, and they asked everybody who had given a button away. And it ended up tracing these buttons to 12 different countries. Now, what was most amazing to me was that the mayor kicked it off, and he said in that 1 year of passing these buttons around, the crime rate in greater Kansas City had gone down 16%. 16%, just because of an awareness of being kind. Now, they started after that year asking all the children in the grade schools to write essays on who they thought was the kindest Kansas Citian. And then every year for all these years, they pick 5 kind people and 5 children. They have a big fancy dinner, and they honor them. 2 years ago, they began to create a whole thing on the kindest school in Kansas City. And they asked the students and the teachers to write essays. And again, they honor the kindest school. So think about how easy this would be to start in your own community or in your own workplace. And again, I can give you all the details if you're interested in that. Booster Juice in Canada, the owner decided to do a project, 22 days of kindness. Now, she chose 22 days because it takes how many days to change a habit? Anybody know? 21 days to change a habit. So she made it 22 days. She paid every one of her 55 employees 1 hour for those 22 days of their time to do kind things for people around them. And so they did things like this. They posted acts of kindness. They got all of their customers involved, and they could write acts of kindness that they had done on these little hands. They did fun things like making signs and holding them. They wrote notes on the top of the cup holders. They washed the windshields of a lot of the cars around in the area and some of the windows of other businesses. They handed out flowers that were left over, and just even ran along the side of the expressways with signs about being kind. So it was a very cool thing. Another person did this, which I loved. On her 40th birthday, she rented a bus, and she invited a bunch of her colleagues and friends, and for that entire day, they did 40 acts of kindness around their city. Now that really impressed me, because most young people, I say young at age 40, would probably rent a bus and go drinking, right? But instead, they did all these wonderful acts of kindness for people. And so again, using some of these as ideas to spark for you. This is a young lady named Rebecca. She is dying of a brain tumor. She put a note out on Facebook, and she asked people, would all of you do something kind in my name? So thousands and thousands of people have done kind acts in recognition of Becky. This is my little granddaughter. She lives in Seattle. She's 15. She was diagnosed with leukemia a year ago. It's been a rough year for her. But she decided when she was offered a Make-A-Wish that she wanted to do something for someone else. She loves animals. How many of you love animals in the room? Yeah, she had found out that in Hawaii, most of the dogs there, because there are so few people, most of the stray dogs are immediately euthanized. So her wish was to go over to Hawaii, pick some dogs, and bring them back to Seattle and help them find a good family to live with. I was really proud of her because she had the opportunity to do something for herself, but she chose to do something kind for somebody else. And again, we all have those opportunities every single day. So Albert Schweitzer says, constant kindness can accomplish much. As the sun makes ice melt, kindness causes misunderstanding, mistrust, and hostility to evaporate. And so as you think about the acronym of KIND, K, kinesthetic, touch, the I, imaginative, being creative, the N, neighborly, thinking about the person as your neighbor, and the D, deliberate. When you go back to your workplace, I'd like to have you have that little 3-column chart with the -0+ kind of tattooed in your brain. And look around you, see people as human beings. You know, if someone needs a door open, if someone needs someone to just sit down for a moment with them and be with them, it will change, I guarantee, it will change the feeling in your workplace. So every one of us in this room can make a difference every single day. And I want you to leave really being kinder, more caring people. So thank you very much. I have a free email newsletter. I'm speaking tomorrow on appreciation. I'd love for you to come for that. Thank you. God bless. Be kind.